This time around, we're going to take a look at what I think are the top 5 management hacks in Microsoft Intune. And these are definitely 5 things that you need to know. So, are you ready to learn? Greetings fellow YouTubers, welcome back to my channel. Andy Malone here. Really nice to see you all. I really do appreciate it. What a great week we've had, by the way. I've just hit 6,150 subscribers. I gotta take my hat off to you guys. I really appreciate your support and thank you so much for supporting the channel. I've also had lots of questions and lots of suggestions for potential topics in the future, so again, fantastic. Thank you so much for being involved and participating in that. This week, I've got a direct request from a number of people to take a look at Windows Intune. Now, in the past, I've done a couple of sessions on this and kind of focused on the operations. But doing a little bit of research this week, I've discovered that there are actually a few kind of hidden things under the surface that most people, in fact, a lot of people, don't even know about. So what I thought I'd do is I would take kind of the top, what I think are the top 5 and go through them. So definitely stick around because there's a few surprises in here as well. Now, if you've not subscribed to the channel, then I would love it and really appreciate it if you would click on that subscribe button, ring the bell, and you won't miss out on potential sessions in the future. And as of course, I love your comments, questions, and feedback. Now, like all my other videos, what I've recently done is I've started time coding them. So the idea is that you can jump back and forth into a particular topic that you find interesting. So I think without any more further ado or any more jibber jabber, I think it's about time for some demos. So here we go, my top 5 kind of management hacks in Microsoft Intune. Stick around, you're going to learn something here. So the first of my topics is licensing. Now, licensing in Microsoft 365 is incredibly complex. I'm sure many of you out there will be kind of a little perplexed by, Andy, which license do I have and which one do I need and so on. I actually did a session on Microsoft 365 licensing not that long ago. So again, check it out in my list of videos here. Now, Intune licensing is a whole new baby in its own right. And you're probably sat there thinking, Andy, I've got Intune, I'm cool with it, I don't need to talk about licensing. It's amazing how many people have gone out and purchased things like an E5 or an E3 and purchased the add-on, which is the EMNS, which means Enterprise Mobility and Security. So not only do they get all the mobility features, but they also get on the various security features as well. Now, this might be great if you're like a 3 or a 5 or a 10,000 person company, but if you're a small organization, to be honest and to be quite frank, you might just not need this. Well, again, you may not know that you can actually go out and purchase a standalone license for Microsoft Intune. And basically there are a couple of different types of licensing. So you can purchase a standard Intune user account, which will give the user full access to all the benefits of Intune. And you can also purchase an Intune device, for example, if it was a shared device or something like that. And then of course you've got the EMNS features. So Enterprise Mobility and Security comes in a version 3 and version 5 there. So definitely take a look at the billing section in your Microsoft 365 account. And in the billing section, you'll notice that you can actually get licenses, and you can even get trial licenses. So you can get them on a 30 or a 60-day agreement with Microsoft. So definitely take advantage of that. It's really useful. So definitely click up on that billing area, have a look at the different licensing options, and you'll be surprised you could save yourself quite a lot of money. Just on the subject of licensing, there's something like about a 30% number of customers, by the way, who have purchased licenses and they've not assigned them. So just one quick tip, don't over purchase licenses. So if you need to purchase additional licenses, of course, you can do that. Now, just a quick mention about small business as opposed to enterprise customers. Remember that small business accounts have a limitation of 300. Now, also with the small business premium, you get Intune. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. You get MDN. You get like a cut down version of it. So if you want the full features, the full richness of Intune, then you would need that enterprise account. So there you go. That's my number 5 tip for you, licensing and Microsoft Intune. Get it right, you could save yourself some money. So my number 4 feature can be found here on the Windows Intune homepage, or the Endpoint Manager Admin Center as it's now known as. And you can see here that I've gone ahead and I've deployed a number of devices here. And right down here on the main page, we have something called Guided Scenarios. Now, Guided Scenarios, at the moment, we've got just a couple of things, but over the next while, you're going to see more and more of these popping up. And in fact, if you click on See All, you can see it tells you exactly what these guided scenarios are. And there's a number of these starting to come in now. So things like Edge, if you want to set up a device to try out and management. And again, we have a very nice feature in for Windows. And if you've got Windows 10 and Windows 11 devices, you can use something called Autopilot. Now, Autopilot is a fantastic tool for deploying kind of what we call UBI, so out-of-the-box experience to machines that have already got Windows on them. So I can come here back to the home page here, and we have this option to deploy Windows 10 in a cloud configuration. So I'm going to click on Start here, and it tells you a little bit about it here. Perfect for devices that run Windows Professional, Windows 10 Pro, Windows 10 Enterprise, or the education versions of Windows. And the nice thing is, by the way, depending on your license, if you've got a Windows Pro, you can actually upgrade the machine dynamically. So it tells you all about the scenario, what the scenario is for, and this is a great way to, for example, autopilot into something. So again, we click on Next, and it says, okay, do you want to apply a device name template? So if you've got, for example, I'm in Bergen, so if I typed in BGO sales, BGO production, and so on, you want to use BGO as a name template, then you can add that in here. You can also use a resource name suffix as well. So again, you can put in that important suffix. So I could type in BGA, let's say SRV or CLI as a prerequisite, a prefix name, if you will. Then it says, okay, which of these do you want to configure? So you can see it's not just going to go ahead and deploy Windows, but again, you've got the options of deploying a whole bunch of different options here if you want that. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on Next, and you can see that it's going to say, hey, are there any other additional apps that you want to bring in? And you can see it's brought out the kind of the default settings. But again, because this is part of Microsoft 365, you don't need to, create images of applications. I can just simply say, hey, I want to actually deploy these particular applications to my users. So I'm just going to select a bunch of these here, and I'm going to click on Next. Now, what do you want to do? Do you want to choose a particular group, or do you want to choose an existing group? So again, here, I'm going to go ahead and choose an existing group that I've created, and I'm going to call this group, I think it's just called Devices, or in fact, there you go, Bergen IT. So I'm going to click onto Bergen IT, and you can both do existing, and you can also create groups here as well. So if you don't have a group, again, you can go and create that. Okay, so you can see here, we're going to go ahead, we're going to enter a prefix name of each machine, and you can see the apps which are going to be deployed to the Bergen IT group on all of those devices. And you can see here what it does is if you go down a little bit, it just shows you all the different apps, and you can see it's using a standard autopilot profile. So it's using a collection of things, and I can now go ahead and I can deploy that to that group. So off it goes. You can see it's now created all of that, and it's now been assigned to that group of users. Isn't that cool? For my number 3 option, I'm going to come in here into my Intune admin center here, and I'm going to come down into devices. Just before I show you my number 3, I'm going to click into Windows, for example. Now, whenever you click into a particular type of device, whether it be Intune, Android, Windows, you can, or you have the capability to apply what we call policies and profiles. So you can see, for example, I have a compliance profile that I can set up. I've also got a configuration profile. And of course, configuration profiles, they include things like settings and controls and options and so on. And you can also deploy things like scripts. Well, the nice thing about that, in fact, the not so nice thing about that is, of course, there's a little bit of work. So, going through each of these can be a little time consuming. So to save you time, what you can do is if you just scroll down here, as I said, you've got compliance, you've got conditional access, you've got profiles, then you might want to just scroll down right down to the bottom, and we have something here called policy sets. Now, policy sets, you can see, you can use the policy for grouping objects together. You can assign them to a particular set of environment, a set of machines, and this is perfect because it's not just the device configuration policies. It's not just app protection or configuration profiles, but you can also deploy apps to these as well. So in other words, what you're doing is you're essentially creating a collection. So I'm going to call this this is my Bergen, I'll call this my Bergen HQ, I'll call this my policy set. Okay, so I'm going to call this my Bergen HQ, oops, sorry, spell it correctly, of course. Policy set. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on application management, and here I can go ahead, of course, and I can select some particular apps, and you can see I've got a couple of apps here, and I can go ahead and I can install those. If I've got any configuration policies that I've created, do I want to go and create that? At the moment, I don't have any configuration policies. Again, things like app protection policies, you've got the option there to add those as well. Some of the settings, you can see there is configuration available. So you can choose whether is this policy, is it required, or is it, do you want to uninstall it? Or maybe it's available for enrolled devices. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on required for that one. And I'm going to click on next to device management. So, Andy, do you want to go ahead and apply a device configuration? Now, I've gone ahead and I created one here earlier. So I'm going to call this my device 1 profile. And this is for Windows 10. And you can also add in other platforms, of course, as well. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on add and add that one in. And then again, we talk about enrollment. So how do we want our users enrolled? Are we using autopilot? So again, if you've purchased machines from, let's say, Dell or HP or Lenovo, typically these machines will come with Windows already pre-installed. But the problem is they also come complete with a lot of, I suppose, a lot of rubbish as well, advertising stuff. So what you can do is you can ask the manufacturer for a list of device IDs preload them into autopilot, assign a profile to those device IDs, and when those devices come online, they will be pre-imaged, or not so much imaged, but they will be pre-configured with all your corporate settings. It is absolutely superb, and it's super fast as well. So if you have a profile, and you can see I've got one here, and this profile is going to flatten the machine, it's going to reconfigure it, and it's going to configure it for Azure AD. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select that profile as well. Again, there are other options and other things that you can do as well. Again, I'm going to click on assignment now. So which groups do we want to assign this? And you can either do this, you can include, and you can also exclude as well. So if you wanted to include everyone and then exclude, for example, admins or something, then you can do that. And you can add groups individually, you can add all devices, and you can also add in all users as well. So if I go to groups here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down, and I've got a group of devices here that I'm going to go ahead and select that. So now that I've done that, I now get a nice review on everything. You can see everything's been configured, and I'm now ready to go ahead and create that policy set. So there you have it. Rather than me creating all those configuration and different settings, you can now create it as one individual kind of package and assign that package to users and machines. Now, I first introduced dynamic filtering a little while back in my Azure Active Directory video, where you can create the likes of dynamic groups. Well, Microsoft are bringing this technology into many of the products now, including Microsoft Teams, Microsoft 365 Groups, and also here in Intune. So, for example, I'm going to come down here, I'm going to click onto Devices, and I'm going to scroll right down. And one of the options that you now have, which is in preview, is the ability to create filters. Now, filters can be used for anything. So rather than just saying, I want to allow or disallow all PCs or all Macs or whatever, what you can now do is you can now filter them by specific brand, model number, device ID, and so on. So really, really granular. And to create a filter, I simply come in here, and let's say I'll call this my laptop filter. Okay, so this is my laptop filter, and I'm going to say, okay, what is this for? What platform is this for? Is this for Android, Mac OS? I'll choose Windows 10 here or later, which of course includes Windows 11. So here is that dynamic rule filter that we've seen before, but this time, this is so cool, by the way, because you can use this, by the way, these filters in the likes of conditional access. So you could potentially say, hey, only this model of laptop is allowed to connect to our network, nothing else. Or only these specific device IDs can connect to our network. So incredibly powerful security here. So what I could do is I could first of all start by saying, hey, manufacturer equals, and I could say HP, and then I can say, okay, and you can do an and or an or expression, so you can, or Dell and so on. And you can then say, okay, you could then say model number equals, and again, I can just paste this. So I've got the HP Envy 17T, this particular laptop. So this, for example, is the only laptop that I want to include. So you see what I mean? You could keep going. So you can choose by model number, device ID, you could OS version. So hey, only HP Envy laptops running Windows 11 who are either privately owned or publicly owned devices can connect on our network. In fact, I will add another one. So I will go ahead and I will say, okay, device ownership, and device ownership will say, is it personal? Is it a corporate laptop, or is it unknown? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say corporate laptops here. So only this model of laptop, corporate laptop will be able to connect to our organization. You can see it goes ahead and it creates that dynamic rule for us. So click on next, and again click on create, and now you can use that rule in all of these other features. So things like within configuration profiles, conditional access, compliance policies. This is such a cool feature. So for this, I'm going to come into the admin center and I'm going to click on to tenant administration, and this is all the default settings for your tenant. Now here you can see you can manage the end user experiences, and a couple of things here that you definitely want to set up. Obviously customization, which I'll come back to in a moment, but you can also do things like terms and conditions. So when users connect to your environment or connect through your company portal, you can create terms and conditions for which they must accept. So for example, an acceptable usage policy or something like that. So definitely take a look at that. Again, legally, for legal and compliance reasons, it's really important. Now, another thing that you can also configure as well is something called a custom notification. And custom notifications are great. So they can they're visible, as you can see, on lock screens on both Android, Apple devices, Windows devices, and it's great if you want to notify your users, maybe vacations or some changes or support issues. You can send them a message, so you can create the little title of a message here, send that to them. That's an awesome feature. All right, the section here is customization. So you'll notice that when you go into the Azure portal, it might not be overly exciting, but the cool thing here is, hey, you can go ahead here and you can customize it and make it look exactly how you want to look at it. So you can see when I scroll down through here, you see there's not overly exciting here, really, is it? So I can quickly click into the settings here, and I can say, okay, what do you want to call this? Well, let's say my organization is called Contoso Airlines. So I can go into the Contoso Airlines. What color do you want to accept? The color? Do you want to, change the color? No, let's, I think we could have another nice color here as well. And again, what do you want to show it in the header? So this is up here. So in the left-hand header here, do you want to show it do you want to show the company logo or the company name? So again, if you've got a logo, I can quickly say, hey, I want to bring in my company logo here. So I'll just bring in that one. This is just an example. And I can say, okay, this is looking pretty good. Do you want to upload the logo for a white or a light background? So yes, I will. So you can choose, and you can see that this one will probably look a little bit better on that one. And again, you can get a little preview here as well. This is great. So now you can put in some support information. So the IT team, the phone number, if you've got an email address, the website, particularly useful if you're a consultant and you're working with a number of different companies. This can be absolutely really nice, by the way. Configuration. So again, customize the setup experience. So do you want to customize the setup experience for things like iOS, iPad, and Android devices? So this is, for example, the portal, the company portal. So you can set up, you can customize a nice little message here. You can set up a device notification, so you can send push notifications out to users. So for example, if the device changes ownership, then the new owner will have to accept, for example, your terms and conditions. Where do you want the apps to come from? Do you want them to come from Microsoft Azure? So I can choose that. Do you want to choose the Office applications as well? And then of course you can, you've got some hiding options here as well. Hide the removal button in the Windows devices. Hide the reset button on corporate devices if you don't want that to show, and so on. So I can click on that. I can, I suppose we'll put some information in here. You can put in the, so I can say, yeah, I want to put this in. So just put in, and I'll say www.contoso.org. Okay, so I can put that in here. I can put in a little custom message if I want to, and then I will go ahead and I will save that. And you can see I can go back in and I can fill this if I want to. So when the user goes into their company portal and when they log in, that's what that custom experience is going to look at. So it will be set up with your logo, your details, your support information. It is such a cool feature. So there you have it. That's my top 5 management hacks. They're features that you kind of don't necessarily know that are there. Do you agree with them? Hey, let me know if there's something that you thought was missing or that you would have added to your top 5 list. Get them down below. I'd be fascinated to know about that. Hey, listen, I really appreciate you stopping by, and if you enjoyed the video, please give me a big thumbs up and hit that like button. It really does help the channel. And if you've not subscribed, go ahead, click on that subscribe button, ring the bell, and get notified of any new videos. All right, so thank you again so much for stopping by, and you stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Hey, thanks so much for dropping by today. Here's a couple of videos that you may enjoy, and while you're here, go ahead, click on the subscribe button and you won't miss out.